for this. So
that's awesome. And by the way, for some of you, anyone who may be new, Barry is one of many people I know who, when there's a scripture that says the Spirit bearing witness with our spirits that da 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 da. So sometimes when Barry will be in the middle of a sentence saying, "Oh, you'll get what we used to call a gut crunch," or something. That's the Spirit who's living in him, just like He lives in you and He lives in me. But some people will react very physically to that when the Spirit says yes, that, then the person goes, whoa. And I've seen men and women do this for a couple of decades. A few people that were new were not around in 1994 when the Father's blessing, what did we call it? The Toronto blessing came out of Canada. John and Carol are not and all that. And a lot of people that would go there would come out of there, and they'd be in the middle of a sentence, and then the Spirit would bear witness right at the middle of the sentence. So don't be too shocked, anyone. This is actually not that unusual at all, except that there were seasons when it was more prevalent. But it's just the Spirit bearing witness with them. That's all that means. So now talk about, you've got on here, Barry, about open vision of the Canadian-U.S. border at the Peace Arch. Now, we've heard in our news that right now the border between Canada and the U.S. is apparently closed. Can you confirm that? Or is that a rumor?
Well, you know what? When we were there, there was traffic going through the border.
Okay.
And, typically they have, 2.5 hours of traffic kind of lined up to go through. But there was traffic flowing through the border, however lightly, there was activity there.
Okay.
And so not what it has been.
Right.
I think there probably are some restrictions there, but
okay.
But there was activity there.
So what about this vision at the Peace Arch?
So, it's interesting. Like I woke up one morning and I actually saw these big tunnels, very deep, running between our border and between the United States and Canada. And I saw the darkness, and I saw the every evil intent that was used by the enemy in trafficking and drugs and just all of just deplorable means. And I saw basically us go in and do a prayer strike and basically kind of collapse those things so that, obviously that, God hasn't called us to walk in that. He's called us for much better things. And so we actually ended up going there that day. And in fact, we did have a member of parliament with us that day. And so we stood and not only did we close and pray and detonate those tunnels between our nations, but we also opened up the gates, into Canada so that, we can release the healing and the empowerment to the nations. And we're going to have many, many nations to come to Canada to receive. We've got a call for healing of the nations. And so, we went and we did that. It was interesting because we did have a group of American prophets and intercessors join us on that call. And, in unity, we prayed and we got some things done. We released some edicts from heaven over the Canadian-American border, and for the glory of God and for the end time harvest and revival. And, it's interesting that I'd forgotten that, several months before that, I'd actually been contacted by a national Canadian prayer group, and they'd been planning a prayer strike at that very place.
Really?
But it just wasn't coming together for them. And so I was told that Bonnie Jones, Bob Jones' wife, was actually going to be part of that. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't coming together. So as it turned out, God positioned us to come in with an American delegation and federal members of parliament to in the position of authority to open some things up. And so it was.
That's good. That's really good. So, and that's all. That was the whole thing. Is at the Peace Arch. That's what you were talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure we had covered that. Then on June 13th, which is not that many days ago, about a week ago, right?
Yes.
Something about Vancouver, Canada. Now Vancouver, is that pretty close to where Trinity Western University is, or is that?
Yes.
My daughter went to Trinity Western, so I've been up to Vancouver a number of times, but it's been 10, 12 years ago or something like that. But so I've been on both coasts, or both extreme. Well, Toronto on one side, right? Which I don't know if that's the further east or if there's
Yeah,
another.
that's farther east. Yeah.
So, but I mean, Toronto and Niagara Falls and all of that's right in there on the east, and
Yeah.
then on the Vancouver on the west.
On the
Of course,
west.
I went Bainbridge. Was that was in Alberta, right? Or that other place I flew into is Bainbridge in Alberta?
That could have been, yeah. Or was it Lethbridge?
Lethbridge is what I meant.
Lethbridge.
Yeah, my
Yeah, I think it
apologies.
was Lethbridge.
Yeah, so many bridges.
Yeah,
Well, we'll talk about this whole Vancouver word that the Lord's given you.
So we were out there for some meetings, and we did, quite about 4 days. We did, I think, 8 or 9 meetings, and the love of God just came everywhere we went, and people were touched, and He just ministered, and Holy Spirit, He's far above restrictions. And so at 4:30 in the morning, I woke up, and the Lord dictated a word to me. And around 9 o'clock that morning, there were angels that showed up on the property that we were staying at, and they had scrolls under their arms. And it was like they were the reporters from heaven sent in the to record what was being released on that day. Wow. And what God was establishing for Canada as a nation. And so, what was going to be released across the nations in global revival. And so, they came and they were, they were going to, put this in history. So the word was this, Vancouver, Vancouver, Vancouver. I've heard your cries, and I'm bringing you more than relief. I'm bringing you a revolution. I've heard your cries, and I've seen your tears for your sons and your daughters. And I've come to deliver you from the oppression of the enemy. I am closing the gates to the enemy, Vancouver. Ho! It's time the counterfeit must go. I am about to move in your land to pull back and expose the witchcraft and the occult at the highest of levels. Ho! I am coming with my fire to burn in the hearts and minds of the deceived, and I'm coming to release my glory upon this land. I do not use a scale to measure which nationality gets more or less of my spirit. You are all my beloved, and you will all get your full measure and more. Vancouver, I've called you to carry my glory, and carry it you shall. Many of you have resisted in the past and made judgments against the moving of my spirit, and it led you to a dry and desert land. Vancouver, 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 I'm opening up a well in the west, and it will more than satisfy the dry and the parched and the thirsty. It will quench the thirst of the broken, and the addicted, and the traumatized, and the lost. I am calling you into a place of intimacy like you've never known. You're going to gather as a family and lay your head on my chest, and you'll know my heartbeat, and you'll know the Father's love. And you will weep, and you will cry as I restore those broken and hurting places that you've tried to hide from me. You are my beloved sons and daughters, and I'm bringing healing to your land, to your families and your marriages, your sons and your daughters. And there is no wound too great for my healing touch. For Vancouver, I'm releasing a healing movement from your region, that will touch the world, and many will come for my touch. You will host kings and queens, and leaders of many nations will come to get a touch in my glory. And you will be a destination of choice. For my glory that is coming shall draw people from around the world. Many of you I will send out from here into the streets and to the nations to release my love. So Vancouver, you're holding the keys, for healing for Canada. And I have called you to lead the way. It's time to lay down dead and dry religion. It's not a time to move through academia and intellect. It's time to lay aside every preconceived idea and plan, for I am about to release my way. Yahweh, it is a move of my spirit, and I'm calling forth a new generation to be released in this hour. I've prepared them to be the leaders in this graced harvest, and lead they shall. They'll lead in the marketplace, the schools, the airwaves, arts, entertainment, and they shall lead in government, and they shall know me, and they will hear my voice, and they will be bold and courageous. They will walk in obedience, and in intimacy that many generations have not. So mothers and fathers, let them run. Let them run. Do not restrict them. Do not hold them back. Come behind them and give them the love and support in every way you can. For I'm calling them to lead a movement across this nation. I've prepared them and called them for this very day. I'm bringing a fire upon them that will spread quickly as the winds of my spirit blow across this land, and I'm releasing them now. I will consume this land with my fire, healing, and deliverance. So get ready. Get ready. I'm about to turn this province upside down and inside out. The climates that you've been accustomed to are about to change, for I am shredding the satanic atmosphere from over this land once and for all. Witches and warlocks and the occult shall come running for salvation and deliverance. I'm calling my ecclesia to stand up and fight. It's a day of signs, wonders, and miracles to take back the land. The warriors arise. I'm about to flip mindsets that have long been established against my statutes, and my truth shall penetrate even the most resistant among you. What many said, could not be done, I'm about to do, and I will do it swiftly. So do not fall into the trap to try and do it like in the days of old, for we're in a new day. Do you not perceive it? For I'm releasing new wineskins you've yet to see. For houses that you've built for me will not contain what I've got coming. So Vancouver, get ready. Many will be the apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, and teachers that I'm raising up out of this region. They'll be young and they'll be old, and they'll lead with great intimacy and unity as never before. I am recommissioning those that they thought they were done. I'm calling back the reserves. So hear my call today. You are needed. You are valued. And I am strengthening the weary for the battle of the ages. You will find healing and joy return to you as you come, and great shall be your reward. So Vancouver, I'm reestablishing wealth in this hour, and I'm doing it here, and I'm doing it now among you like never before. I'm removing financial fear from you on this day. No longer shall mammon control you. It has often misled you, controlled you, driven you, and satisfied you. It has given you a false identity. So henceforth, I'm bringing a shift in you, and you will find this in me alone. For your identity comes from me. You're mine, and I'm yours. And as you walk closely with me, I'll pour out my blessings upon you and through you for my kingdom's sake. You will be led by my spirit as you release supernatural wealth as a tool in your hand to the hurting and the lost. This is your day of healing and redemption, for I have paid the ultimate price to redeem you and set you free. For I'm not an angry father waiting at the door with a belt, but I'm a loving father standing at the door with arms open wide. And I call you on this day to relinquish the sin, the pain, and the brokenness. Ask me and invite me into your heart and your life, and I will walk with you all the days of eternity. I will cleanse you from the enemy's plan, sin, and defilement, and you will be made new, born again, forever changed.
Wow. What a good word.
And so I just felt that if you're watching this today, or if you're watching it on a replay, and you maybe wandered from the Father a little bit, and you've kind of lost your edge, and you've kind of drifted, or you've kind of been standing outside just unsure, today would be the day. I just want to encourage you, say I'm in. And I would even say this, that even in the comments here, just say, if this is you, just say, I'm in. I'm in. So we call you into the Father's love today.
So good. So good. Yeah, for those of you who maybe my generation, I was born in 55, but I was at least, I don't know if it's a generation or my family or some combination, but my generation, the father stood there at the door with a belt. When Dad got home, it was like, was Dad mad today? So I was raised in an extremely dysfunctional angry father scenario. So I would have been the kind that says, I'm not the angry father that could have it says, I am not an angry father waiting at the door with the bell, but I'm a loving father standing at the door. And that's people who have had the opposite. God's looking at that and saying, I'm not like your earthly father. I don't come to you like that. I'm not looking for a reason or an excuse or a technicality where I get to take this belt and lay it up, start whipping you with it, which is what we call them. We call them whippings, God's saying, I'm not like that. No. Stop looking at me like that. I'm not like your earthly father did to you. I'm not that way.
That's right. That's right. He loves us. And, in our worst day, he's there to come and give us a hug and give us a kiss and help nurture us into healing and into fullness and peace. And, you'll never, ever be the same. Once you've encountered the love of God, you are never, ever the same.
So true. So true. I remember back in those days in the 80s when I encountered the love of God. It's like all of a sudden the Bible came alive. What preachers were preaching came alive because it was a different God than I had ever been raised with. Some of you, whether it's been from Canada or the USA, and there's been traditions and there's been mindsets and there's been denominations and then there's been religious strongholds and pretty soon you don't know which way is it, and you certainly have lost the love, or maybe you never got the love and understanding about God is a loving Father. Yes. He's the Father's heart is towards you. He's not looking for a reason to whip you. He's looking for a reason to just come into me, all you that labor and heavy laden, like Jesus said. I'll give you rest. So that's a good word. That's a good word, and I appreciate the prophetic coming out of Canada. We had a lot back in those 90s or so. There was a lot that came out of Canada, and it's not quite as pervasive right now, but voices like yourself and a few others are beginning to emerge that are really making a difference in this hour. You're hitting the mark, Barry.